It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
All right, is that any better? Let's see if we got audio now. Go over here, click over here. Okay, we got audio. So sorry about that. I think my Firefox was doing an update. So sorry about the. Let's start over again. We go live every Tuesday to chat about content creation, and last couple of weeks, maybe 8 weeks or so, 7 weeks, something like that, we've been going over some advanced topics. Then we've been intermixing that with some talks about SHOT Show. This week, I just thought we'd try something different again and went to the robot brains out there and asked it what challenges are faced by Second Amendment rights content creators going into 2024. Pretty simple question for a robot, right? So get into that a little bit here today. There we go. So we've got it in the description of this video. Starts off with an introduction. It's got an overview, the landscape, challenges, public backlash, legal challenges, strategies, engaging audience, legal protections, and the future, and then some closing thoughts. So it did a pretty good job, I thought. Just saying it's impressive how well the robots are able to accomplish things like this. Pretty obscure question and complicated one, right? So say hey to people jumping in. Ghost is the first one out there. Thanks for jumping in. Let me know my mic wasn't working. Snob's joining us out there. Surveillance and Georgia Trucker. Welcome, everybody. And if you're listening and you're not able to say anything, then how would I know you're out there? So if you're listening to this as a podcast, you're part of the show too. You're just listening in the future. You can leave comments. Much appreciated, as well as the little thumbs ups and the likes and the hearts and whatever the platforms offer. That lets the platforms know that you're appreciate what we're doing, and it helps us get recommended. So we do appreciate that. I'm trying to figure out why that's showing up like that. I guess it's no big deal. So let's drop down to the introduction for this one. So Second Amendment rights content creators. If you're out there and you're interested and you're able, type in, let's make this a little interactive today. Type in what you consider to be challenges. Doesn't have to be the largest challenge or anything. And we'll take some of those challenges, we'll turn them into a poll. So throw some challenges, what you consider challenges in our realm, and we'll talk about those and rank them, I guess. Yeah, sorry. Then introduction. Significance of Second Amendment in the United States. Highlight the growing influence of content creators in shaping public opinion. I don't think I need to talk about the significance. You probably wouldn't be watching anything that has to do with guns or the stuff that goes beyond guns if you weren't interested in what the Second Amendment, or you didn't understand what the Second Amendment, how significant it is. So we'll just keep moving from there. Highlight the growing influence of content creators. Well, that's interesting. Is it possible for somebody in 2023, even if you're brand new to the scene, to not understand the influence of content creators in public opinion? Think of how the viral videos go around, right? The little songs that get in your head. You're just scrolling through your feed and everybody glitches on a song. Everybody trends on a song or whatever it is. And they don't do it because they're all weird. They do it because the system, when everybody listens to a song, everyone goes, oh, that song is catchy. And then a pattern that's chosen by a lot of people is to search for more videos using that song, I guess, to see the clever ways people interpret, how to work with that song, whatever, how they do the dance or how they do the, whatever the trending thing is. And so people that want to grow their channel size are using those trending songs. They're using those little dances and stuff to participate in those phenomenons. So it's not that people, necessarily care about all these little dance trends or whatever, or the little song trends, but they understand that since that's the way one way people use social media, and if you're trying to grow your numbers, participating in that facilitates, that's the right word. So how do you, when you look at that, is it just frivolous? Is it just nothing? Yeah, because nobody's doing anything with it. But look at the Oscar Mayer song, or one of those songs that we've been brainwashed with through corporations over the years that, we're going to always remember because they're little catchy songs, right? Why don't we do that with Second Amendment stuff? Flashback to the Schoolhouse Rock. A lot of people still remember Schoolhouse Rock because it was catchy. It was a cartoon. And at the time, I'm sure none of us really cared that much. Nobody was really hyped about it. It's just that it happened so often. You sat there eating your cereal through the commercial break and watched so many of them that we don't forget, it's just a bill and blah, blah, Capitol Hill. So, we could be doing that. there's no national level focus on that to offer a similar set of resources across the board so that as a community we have consistency. Now, when was the last, is that possible? Am I coming up with stuff out of the blue? Let's see, is there the 4 rules of gun safety? Where'd that come from? That's one dude, Colonel Cooper, right? And he kept saying that, and he kept saying it. People thought it was a good idea. People were too lazy to come up with their own 5 rules, or they're too scared to come up with their own 3 rules. So, the 4 rules has kind of permeated through the whatnot, through the culture. That was maybe it was intentional actually, but it was without there wasn't a reason for that other than to help people be mindful of safety. But what if the reason behind an effort like that is to show solidarity and consistency of message? We're allowed to do that. That's soapbox, right? That's people who don't have to be elected. Those are people that don't have to be members of the press. Those are people that don't have any other thing other than to just want to get on the soapbox. They don't have to be listened to, but they're able to get up on that soapbox. So participatory projects, participatory phenomenons, I don't know what to call them, like these trending songs and stuff. These happen all the time. People use them to their advantage. Look how many companies have used those little trending songs, tried to take over a little trending song. Oh, that little thing where you do this. Oh, that's a Pizza Hut thing. Or remember, blah, 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 that's for Wendy's. They try to make it associated with their brand. So people ride these waves. People know how to surf this stuff. It's not always a win, but when it's French fries or a new kind of flavor of Slurpee, who cares? When it's something fundamental as our rights and trying to keep information being passed down, I could see the influence of social influence of content creators in the shaping of opinion be very powerful. It's just untapped. And like a lot of resources, it's just laying there, just like all that gold and all that copper and all that silver. It was just laying there until somebody clever said, hey, wait a minute, this is a resource. We can grab this, refine it, shape it into some wires and some tubes and some whatnots, and we have an internet. I guess Clover's not joining today, so you got to hear me drink coffee. All right, so that was the introduction. Feel free to participate. I'm not lecturing here. So overview of the Second Amendment rights content. Okay, overview of Second Amendment rights content creators. Discuss the role of content creators in advocating for and discussing Second Amendment rights. Mention the diverse platforms they use, such as social media, YouTube, and whatnot. Let's get beyond that. So the role of content creators in advocating for Second Amendment rights. Well, what do we have? Who do we have on our side? What are our resources that are available to us? The masses, right? The whole bunch of us that have some interest and some focus on this. Then there's the industry. Then there's all the people that take us for granted and stand behind the security and the position that we secure by our existence. And those people won't ever acknowledge it, but of course they stand in the safety and the shadow of that existence. And then there's the rest of the world, which isn't a big giant fucking mess as much as it could be if they didn't have a few pillars. And our situation here creates one of those pillars that's just existed for the last couple hundred years that everyone relies on. But again, let's take that for granted and act like, oh yeah, everything's going to be just fine when you remove all the pillars. So, we've got a role that, in that we're integral. We are, the masses are what we're talking about. The people is the country, right? The country isn't the rules. The country isn't the buildings. The country isn't the individuals that are elected temporarily to do the work. The country is the people and the liberty and the individual freedom that the people cherish that gets handed down from generation to generation, hopefully unmolested, right? So the role of content creators in advocating and discussing Second Amendment rights, I'd say, is untapped. It's been massively influential, and it's taken for granted. So like so many things, right? So I've used this example a million times and I'll use it again. I started going to SHOT Show in 2005 with a digital camera, and if it was a 1 megapixel camera, I'd be surprised. It was an old camera. It was one of the first, it was a Kodak, one of the first digital cameras I could afford. So it wasn't a good camera, and it was in 2005, for crying out loud. So most people in SHOT Show in 2005 were walking around with cameras that used film and lenses and all that mess, or television cameras, right? There was 2 people in 2007 that I knew of that were taking pictures. Actually, I should, maybe in 2008, that were taking video. So video started in about 2008 with Mil-Spec Monkey, Military Moron, and okay, I'll never remember the other dude, but there was 3 dudes that were taking video. Nobody else, literally nobody else was. Then there was the television channels. Television channels were either come in, take over your booth for like half the day, set up all their garbage, because imagine all the stuff television's people put together, putting in all their lights and all their microphones and all the stuff they tape down and everything, and take your booth for half the day. But you got to be on TV, so nobody cared. But nobody at SHOT Show got to go into that booth for half a day. But here nor there, that was what the environment was like in 2005. So I'm walking around with a digital camera, and in 2005 you had to carry around pieces of paper with you, and people had to sign a piece of paper if they were in your picture. So if you took a picture of 4 people, you'd have to go, excuse me, can I get you to sign this piece of paper? And we didn't know shit because we were brand new. So that's what we were doing, getting everybody to sign these pieces of paper and stuff. So it was different. And then, like I say, in 2008, you start to see cameras. By 2009, we bought a camera and we added to the mix of taking video, digital video at SHOT Show. By 2014, the YouTubers had hit SHOT Show. They figured out that SHOT Show was a thing, and a couple of them seen people that had been there before, like us, and said, oh, we could do that too. By 2018, the booths understood they had gone through waves of experiences with content creators. So by 2018, 2019, there were sections of the booth that were devoted to video interviews, that were devoted to people doing selfies and stuff. Today, taking a selfie, no big deal. Nobody even pays attention. Remember, back in the day, I had to have a piece of paper with me that had a signature for every person in a picture. At least that's what they asked for. So that change, no one sat there and said, you know what? Like NSSF never said, you know what? Here's how it is today. But in 2023, we want it to be this way. And we're going to set a bunch of rules in place that are going to get us there. No, it just happened, right? It was just a bunch of stuff, a bunch of people not paying attention, a bunch of people not appreciating what their actions are going to do accumulated to the next year's SHOT Show, and what people are going to see and expect from next year's SHOT Show. And the next year's SHOT Show is going to expect to be better than that. Some people probably were. I'm sure some people are going to claim that they seen this coming and they were, they got ready and they were standing in the right place at the right time. That lightning didn't strike, that they predicted, where the hype would be, and they stood there. But essentially, the role of content creators is massive, and it's overlooked. Again, it's not harnessed at all. The national level organizations are fixated on lawsuits because they get to charge, file a $50 lawsuit, put as many lawyers on it for as long as they want, claim they're spending as much money as they want, market it as much as they want, claim that costs as much money as they want. Nobody questions them because they're doing quote unquote good work. And what are we supposed to do? If they want more money, they just start 3 more lawsuits. What are we going to do? Say, hey, let's audit your lawsuit list. Let's pay attention to how well you're doing your lawsuits. There's a freaking organization that makes it's like the 3rd largest organization hanging out that makes tens of millions of dollars a year from the industry, from our community, suggesting that they do lawsuits, and they've never been like 3rd in line. They've filed lawsuits, yeah, but 2nd or 3rd or 4th in line after all the other organizations have. So we've got national level organizations that just aren't paying attention to the potential, aren't paying attention to our resources as a community, and haven't harnessed that. As far as, I don't know who else would take the initiative on that. No publications have ever done it as a challenge. No events like SHOT Show. What would happen if SHOT Show organized their media, actually gave their media a goal, Maybe gave us a fucking theme. What the heck? We're talking about SHOT Show in this. What if they gave us a theme each year for SHOT Show? At least the Gun Rights Policy Conference, as old fashioned as it is, has a different theme each year. I mean, it constantly revolves around gun rights. For some reason, they want to give inanimate objects rights. In fact, even when we're all a bunch of people who should be moving the ball forward and being more specific. Anyway, we get very little effort. I don't know if there's any effort to coordinate what content creators do. Oh, when there's deliberate effort, when some new gun gets imported, when some new grip angle gets invented, when some new plate gets created so that some new optic can be shoved on some gun, then we get some amount of coordination. And it's sometimes around SHOT Show, actually, like, hey, here's the thing. Don't talk about it till SHOT Show. Hey, you're the first to see this. Don't see it. Don't talk about it till SHOT Show. What if it was, hey, here's the comment periods that are expiring on December 6th, and we're getting whaled on 240-something thousand comments that are for the ATF being tyrants, and we're sitting here talking about dumbass other things like content creation, right? Well, I guess I try to talk about it. Let's see. Nobody's really saying anything, but Surveillance said censorship, cryptic speak. What does that mean? I don't know when you said that, so I'm not sure what that was in relation to. All right, so mention the diverse platform. So advocating for and discussing Second Amendment rights. What's the role of content creators? I mean, I'd like to say ultimate, but in reality, since we're not coordinated, since some of us work together and most of us are trying to do it all ourselves or trying to figure it out ourselves or don't like each other, which is fine because there's a whole bunch of people I don't like for good reason. We don't all have to love each other, but we're certainly not all paying attention to some rule book or some game plan and picking our role in the overall plan. And it's not as though any thought has been offered or any kind of I've never seen anything that says like, hey, here's 8 steps to get us to where we want to be. Like, here's 8 steps to no more NFA. Like, grab your fight and take it. How do we win? Like everybody gets together in one uniform and does the same thing, one thing at a time. Like we all form together as the Borg and we start to attack one battle at a time. Or how would the Borg actually fight? The Borg would send out 1 billion Borg, are essentially robot ants in outer space. So how would a hive mind attack a non-hive mind? Is it going to send out one orchestrated unit that's super orchestrated, or is it going to send out dozens, if not hundreds, of orchestrated small units to just, attack on all fronts? Well, why are we sitting around watching lawsuits? Why are we watching anything? We should be encouraged and informed of what our roles could be. Here are the potential things that would get us to no NFA. Here's the potential things that would get us to an understanding of guns that would keep anti-guns people from using those people in the middle against us, right? Here's things that you could do to have a better rally. Like, here's things that you could bring to a rally to make it more useful. Where are these kind of coordinating efforts? And who would be responsible for that? Who would step in and do that kind of stuff, right? So what's our role? Our role, I think, is untapped and potentially massive, but unfortunately set in here. Okay, there we go. Thanks. So Surveillance followed up with, as in creator issues to deal with going forward, the big tech censorship. Right on. Challenges and opportunities. I don't look at anything as a wall. If it is a wall, then how do you scale that wall? How do you use it as cover and then fight over it? How do you take over the wall and use it for our own advantage? How do you put a poster on that wall? How do you use that wall as motivation for our side? How do you use that wall as a benchmark? How do you use that wall as an indicator that you're winning, that they need to use any tactic possible to stop your message? When you're fighting an adversary, they're going to have a number of resources, and those resources, as you get further from their heart, as you get further from their center, as you get further from their capital, those resources are going to deplete, right? You're going to get all of your resources right at the center. You're going to get a little bit more further out, a little bit less further out, fewer further out from that. And eventually you're just going to get scouts and observers, right? So as you approach, you expect the resistance and the fight to get stronger and stronger and stronger until you break, and they break the wall and you're there and you take it. You've hit your objective. So we expect the fight to be strongest, loudest, fiercest as we finish. So we have a tendency to apply equal and opposite pressure. If we get a lot of resistance, then we resist a lot. And as soon as it ends, we end. We hardly ever just take the ball over. So censorship, I see it as one of those walls, one of those indicators that the other side has to resort to that tactic. Instead of illustrating the fact that we're censored and not cry about our rights and our property, instead of complaining about the censorship in a way that seems like we're yelling about our rights and our property, we could be having a more informed conversation with folks who might understand that it doesn't have any idea. It doesn't matter what our message is. The fact that they're deciding which messages are appropriate is what's in question. And we can stand with a lot of other groups with that. Of course, if we're not standing together, there's no way we're going to stand together with other groups. So that's theoretical at best. But yeah, the censorship is there. And a lot of people are lazy as shit. A lot of people don't want to do nothing in the first place. So they're just looking for excuses. And an excuse that gets a lot of people to stop is a great excuse, right? Oh, everybody has to stop because of censorship. Like, oh, so many people have stopped because of censorship. I'm not lazy because I'm stopping because of censorship. I'm a hero. I don't know. I'm over exaggerating it, but people are going to look for reasons to, blame so that they can stop doing what they want to do. Some people are going to go headstrong into the wall, knowing it or not, or rationally understanding that what they're doing is 100% against terms of service, doing that thing that violates the terms of service of the platform, and then calling censorship. We deal with that a lot. Going into 2024, will that end? Yeah, it has to, because old people had to learn the internet. Young people grew up in the internet. They're not going to be able to go like, oh, I didn't know, to each other. They know. So we're different. The old people are different. The way that we look at the internet, the youngins they're not going to, I can't imagine. I would be sad if the future is people allowing each other to slide. So going in tangents because Clover's in here. I got to do all this whole thing myself. So I'm going to keep going. I mentioned the diverse platforms they use. Yeah, I bet y'all aren't even paying attention. You got to watch at least a few new channels out there because the new channels are going to be using new systems and new services, new platforms, new apps, new phones, new devices. They use different words and stuff. So paying attention to some of the new stuff, not everything new, because most of the time they're just repeating the same old stuff to each other. But watching a couple of them that are decent to pay attention to how they're talking is one of the ways that you can see the future is not slowing down. I mean, YouTube is like AOL. YouTube is it's huge and everything, but I don't think there's too many people that are petitioning for YouTube to last forever. I suspect, just like we see in our community with everybody giving a crap about the NRA, like either you don't like the NRA or you could care less about the NRA, and then there's a very, very, very few people that are paying attention to the NRA, and then there must be about 2.5 million people that are still members of the NRA that aren't just, I guess they just think, I don't know, but there's that 2.5 million. So, think of the NRA, there's like 4 major positions to take on the NRA right now as gun owners. So YouTube is probably in a similar situation. A bunch of people have to use it because we have to use it, but as soon as holograms come along or the next technology, video ribbons or something new that YouTube isn't quite ready for, and the next platform takes it, just like Instagram took pictures from everybody, YouTube will be dead as a doornail. But that's going to be a couple of minutes still. We have a little bit of time. Drinking espresso. I have 7 espresso machines. Current landscape 2023 going into 2024. Provide an overview of the current political and social climate related to guns. It's never been such a potentially good time. And whenever you have a potentially good time, a whole bunch of people give up. They go, oh, good, somebody else is going to finish this. So I'll just get back to my grip angles and my red dot scopes. So everybody who doesn't really care is jumping right the hell off the thing. If they don't feel like they're scared or they're at risk, they got no reason to pay attention to nerdy, boring stuff. So did we leave our Second Amendment advocates strong enough to carry the burden of it all, doing it all themselves pretty soon, going into 2024? Yeah, I think we got pretty decent advocates right now. Probably there's more of them than there's ever been. They are aware of each other more than they've ever been. Luckily, a ton of them are girls, and they go to like a girl and a gun and get uptrained. A bunch of them are aware of what the Women for Gun Rights, formerly DC Project, has done, and they understand that example and are either following it or creating their own. They have National Association of what is it? National African American Gun Owners Association, and they're important because they're a national level organization that unites local organizations, local clubs, and lets those clubs be, be their own thing. They're not required to do the training or the dictates of the large organization. The large organization just unites them, gives them all a large national voice and a way to communicate, but it values the individual contributions without distributing here's the way it is. So we've got potential there with advocates who are different than what we've had in the past, have better and more adaptable resources than we've ever had. We've got, I would say, fewer, charlatans, fewer exploiters than we've had. There was years there where we had more people trying to exploit the situation than we had working on the situation. Now all we have is those people getting fat off of the work of others, and that's just a few of them. And it's frustrating. They're out there and they keep getting fat, but they're fewer and fewer, with transparency and understanding of who's actually doing stuff and who's just asking for money all the damn time. Who's third in line to lawsuits and who accomplishes and finishes the lawsuits. Like that is essentially eventually going to become, clear the playing field. So our current overview is pretty good as far as potential and resources and stuff. Problem is I don't pay attention to anything else, at all. So if there's something going on in politics I don't know of, or if there's something going on in international going on, I pay a little bit of attention to the border just because I live 100 miles from it and it's getting horrible. I've lived here for a long time and I've never been sky is falling about the border, but it is falling apart. It is falling apart because it's being abused by the cartels. Let's put it that way. It's not like an international border by itself is a problem, because we have a massive one with Canada. We've always had this one with Mexico. Never been a problem. But anyway, so an overview, it's tough to say. I think as far as the politics go, we've got, again, a bunch of potential. I don't see a real problem, but I'm also not paying that much attention. I guess I should say I'm not paying enough attention to politics to know if there's some pitfall that we're about to walk into. I'm hoping, I rely that we're a community. I rely on other people out there who are paying attention to those things, to cry or call the warning cry if something's about to happen like that. Outcast killed his comment there. I don't know what you mean as far as the explosion. So current landscape, we're just going through the robots. What do we call this thing? The outline for today's video. I'm on section 2, current landscape. Second point there is discuss any recent changes in legislation or public opinion that may impact Second Amendment decisions. Public opinion goes back and forth. It goes up and down like a bobber on the waves, or like something floating on the ocean. So, I guess if the water was still, if there was no wind or something, then, that's what we would call the middle. But how long does that last? It lasts for a certain amount of time, and then it gets windy, or it gets stormy, or a fish goes by, right? It doesn't have to be stormy for a fish to go by and to cause ripples in the water. So, um, you know, giant things that were inevitable, the moon going by, the ocean filling up with more water or less water or something, like inevitable things are going to cause the water to be sloshed around a little bit. And boat can go by, a fish can go by, like things that have nothing to do with the big picture, just little uh, individual things can cause us to go up or down. So changes in the public opinion, I think the thing that stays the same about changes in public opinion is that there's always going to be changes in public opinion. So to suggest that we only win when public opinion is our way is unrealistic and ridiculous. It's an unobtainable goal, and it's an unrealistic goal. We'd all have to become hive mind again. We'd all have to become ants or Borg or something for us to all have the same opinion. So I think we win, or at least we become better at our position or at our game, if we understand that sometimes people are just going to hate us. As soon as something happens and somebody uses a gun, everybody's going to look at us like we did it, and we got to quit worrying about that black eye and understand that that's just nature. People that something happens in a convertible or in a motorcycle, everybody's going to look at motorcyclists. Now, unfortunately, the communists have infiltrated media and everything else to make it so horrible that when something happens with a gun, it's the worst thing of all times. And when it happens with a motorcycle, nobody cares. But I think that's still there. We got to understand that that's just going to be a thing. And we don't have to take it personally all the dang time. But at the same time, work in public opinion, we can remove a lot of that stigma, a lot of that perception, and a lot of that public opinion in the long game. Is that happening with the like Wayne LaPierre grabbing a flag and forcing people to understand that gun owners are just like them? No, that's never going to happen. That wasn't what that organization or that individual or that type of advocacy was ever going to do. Their whole thing was always to say, it's mine, leave me alone. Okay, it's fine. We needed that also. And at the time, it might have been appropriate. It's lame ass old message that's not really appropriate now anymore. But or at least it's useless now. It's antiquated and useless. Has no power, has no influence on anybody anymore, or very few people anymore. But again, maybe with coordination, or maybe with just frustration with because there's no coordination, people will start to change their own messaging, and it always happens. People change their own messaging, and then what's the word? Social perception changes with that eventually, most of the time. Let's see. So New York is saying it's not logical. There you go. Not logical. I've got this thing behind my light. I should move this over. There we go. My computer's being weird. It's not logical to blame things because of a few incidents. I don't put any weight into people doing so. Yeah, but the problem is there's still people that, I mean, if we're talking like the news or, the hype, the people that'll say the sky's falling every time something happens. Oh, it's all going to happen. This is what's going to happen for everything. Those kind of folks. I think it's not so much how many people don't give them attention. They're fueled by how many people do give them attention. And you never know when somebody's going to come around and just misunderstand intentionally or unintentionally and make a bunch of hype or make a bunch of money, probably, complaining about something. If Clover was here, he'd talk about the whole YouTube censorship thing, and how people can essentially make a bunch of money by screwing up, getting kicked off of YouTube by doing something dumb and leaning into it and doing more dumb things, and then making a profit as they leave YouTube, saying YouTube's against me. That only worked it used to work all the time. It's working less and less. So if that's what you mean, I think we'll see a trend away from that. But the problem is, as soon as people figure out one scam, they start to fall for another scam, right? So that's the frustrating part of that, I think, too. So I guess I'm not too worried about any of them lasting for too long, but they make way for themselves. Hey, if that person could scam everybody with that sky is falling message, and it only lasted for 6 months or 8 months or 2 years, I'll come up with a different message, and maybe mine will last for 3 years or something. It's Gizzard out there. Welcome. I only posted the link over there where everybody was reading it, but whatever. So let's see. I'm only a third of the way through. I'll start whipping through them. I've been ranting. I blame Clover for this. He's not here to rant, so I can take a break and drink some coffee or whatever. If I was drinking a bunch of coffee, I'd be way faster with this. Challenges faced by content creators. Okay. Content moderation policies. Oh. Talking about what Surveillance was talking about a minute ago. So content moderation policies. Explore. I guess the internet or the robot's not going to say expose. Explore how platforms' content moderation policies might affect Second Amendment discussions. So let's think for a second. I asked a robot, an internet robot, and you can decide if you can figure out which internet robot I asked this morning, but there's at least 3 of them out there, and they all have a different way of answering, so you can tell by the answer which one we're talking to. But I asked an internet robot, what challenges are there into 2024 for content creators who focus on Second Amendment rights? I mean, however I said it, I said something to that effect. And this is its answer, right? And part of its answer is explore how platforms' content moderation policies might affect Second Amendment discussions. So the robot is aware enough to know that this is an issue, which means that enough people are talking about this, because the robot doesn't know anything. The robot just looks at the whole internet and sees what everybody on the internet's talking about and says, this guy probably cares about these things. So enough people are talking about this topic for it to be included in a robot's response. That's significant. I think that's interesting as shit. So I don't know. There's not that many people watching this show, but you all are seeing a perspective on gun ownership in 2023, late 2023, that, I don't know, I imagine Bloomberg might be paying somebody to dig into this kind of research, maybe, but I don't think anybody on our side gives a shit about this stuff. Anyhow, next up, so exploring how platforms' content moderation policies affect Second Amendment discussions. I'm not gonna, because I know people get off on talking about that, and we kind of already talked about it. But I'm not the guy. I'm not scared of these things. If there's a challenge that's created by the terms of service of a platform, I just talked about how that's a wall that we can use as a resource for ourselves. We don't need to look at things as actual walls for us. There is no box. We're talking about the Second Amendment in the United States, for crying out loud. We can do whatever we want. The options are limitless. So if a platform wants to put censorship up, who cares? Okay, anyway, discuss cases of censorship or demonetization of content related to gun rights. That's what weak people who are scared hide behind. Let's not discuss cases of censorship. Let's acknowledge that misunderstandings and dumbass shit can happen, and people who don't want to look bad will act like they were never wrong, and let's move on, because that's pretty much what we're dealing with, is people who understand rationally what's going on and people who got dissed and don't want to lose face, and they're screwing it up for everybody who's just trying to get the work done. That's probably the quickest way to say it. Public backlash. Analyze instances where content creators faced public backlash. Is it 10 o'clock already? For their views on the Second Amendment. No. Explore the dynamics of online debates and cancel culture. Public backlash. Is there even such a thing? There's politically motivated theater that would suggest there's a backlash, but there's no actual backlash. If there was an actual backlash, gun owners would be scared to say that they're gun owners. People would have to hide their guns all the time, and family members would be turning us in or hating us, or, you know what I mean? There's no public backlash. There is engineered outcry, which is essentially marketing for Bloomberg, marketing for the antis, hold my pearls and say, oh my. That is essentially paid for marketing. It's just, what do they call it? AstroTurf, fake grassroots. Find someone who's been affected, either pay them or give them a platform to complain, which, in their mind is they're going to be angry wherever they can. So yeah, it's perfect scenario for, the mock outcry, or in the case of victims, actual being pissed, but and then people exploiting them. But the actual public backlash, I'll have a debate with anybody. It's bullshit. People don't hate guns. There's a couple of people who hate guns and they try to make it look like people hate guns. Most people don't give a shit about guns, and most people could care less about any of these topics. These topics we care about because they affect our property and they affect the property of what our children can have. That's what we really care about. So they're the antis, the people that want to keep us tied up, know that all they got to do is attack our guns, attack our rights, and we're going to be essentially hobbled. Like, we're not going to care about nothing else. And that's a win for them. So public backlash is fake. Public backlash is, I know people complain about it and people are worried about it, but it's a shadow. It's a boogeyman that people make up in their head to their own level. And my level of making it up in my head is it's fake ass shit. Don't even worry about it. So I wouldn't have put it on my list. I don't think there is no public backlash. In fact, public backlash should be the opportunity to change the public's opinion of guns permanently. And that's something that, again, I shame every single national level organization for not taking up that challenge. We have those boxes, the soapbox, the ammo box, the ballot box, blah, blah, blah. Well, they, like I've said before, they stay in their lawsuits because it's simple and easy and they make money. They're not interested in creating advocates and ending this whole thing. Anyway, explore the dynamics of online debates and cancel culture. Yeah, I dismissed that also. That's all a bunch of people just trying to talk big and be, use challenges to be lazy. Let's see. It's hard for us to admit or trust or work with someone that can't admit mistakes. I don't know. I've never made a mistake. So I don't understand what that's like, but I imagine working with somebody who makes mistakes is probably frustrating. Bingo. I don't know what I said, but yes, probably I said it right. Next, unapologetically armed out there. Welcome. Did I get this anywhere near the right time? I don't know. Again, we just have our clocks. We don't even change our clocks. The whole rest of the world goes nuts twice a year and messes it up for us. So I thought I did this at the right time this week. Let's see. The next section is strategies for content creators, navigating platform policies. Offer tips on how content creators can navigate and adhere to platform policies without compromising their message. That is probably 1/10 of what we should do, because how many platforms are we on? How often do they change their policies? Like, get your general bearings and don't steer your giant ass ship really close to the shore and move on. But worrying about rocks in the middle of the ocean is dumb as shit. So worrying about how to navigate platforms as far as their policies, you should have learned that as a baby content creator. By the time you're a teenage content creator, you shouldn't be running your ship aground. So I'm not even going to talk about that one either. Discuss the importance of undertaking and staying updated on platform guidelines. It's of no importance. There's people like Clover who are going to pay ultimate interest in, specific things. There's somebody else paying attention to some other platform. There's somebody over on Rumble who's paying attention all the time. We are a bunch of individuals who can utilize each other as resources. So discussing or individually understanding the platforms, fuck that. That's a waste of time. Go learn how to do something better. Go get better. Go practice doing something useful. But understanding terms of services, pay attention to one conversation or go online and do a Google search to answer your question. But no, I wouldn't go around understanding them. I mean, understand how to stay in the middle of the channel so that you're not smashing into the shore as you push, down the river, or, understand the basics of the content guidelines. But once you understand the gist of it, then just stay in the middle and don't even worry about it. But people that are constantly running over, doing this technically should be within terms of service. Oh, well, I did that, but, technically it should. Those are the people that end up making all the noise, getting everybody worried about the platform's policies, when if they would have just not pushed it, they would have been fine. And I'm not saying we got to hide what we're doing or do something differently. I'm just saying there's a time to do stuff, and then there's fights that don't matter. And content policy on platforms hardly matters. And sometimes it kind of matters, but it almost never hardly matters. It almost always hardly matters. All right, next up is engaging with the audience. Explore effective ways for content creators to engage with their audience and address concerns. Feedback, interaction, and understanding, creating notes, taking notes. So if you can do that in your head, awesome. You can do it in your head for a while. You can keep track of everything everybody likes. Like, oh, I know that Outkast doesn't like Glock and he likes Smith & Wesson. I know that Unapologetically Armed, likes the color teal. I know that Gizzard has a chicken on his logo. You can keep track of certain things. Once you get to about 30,000, I don't know, I think it was around 30,000 subscribers, you can't do that anymore. At least on a typical channel where you have typical people showing up. And so, you'll have probably by 30,000 subscribers, you'll have 100 people that you interact with online. I think. Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to remember over the years, and it's different. When I hit 30,000 subs, I don't even know when that was, but it was definitely in the 2000s, right? It was not now. So it would have been different. But, at some level of tens of thousands of subscribers, you're going to have something like 100 people that you interact with constantly. That doesn't sound like a big deal until you try interacting with 25 people constantly. That's actually something that it's hardly ever talked about, but you have to be able to interact with a shit ton of people at different levels. Some people you're going to talk to every day. Some people you're going to say hey to every once in a while. But how many people do you interact with today? As a content creator, go ahead and multiply that by 10 or 50 or 100. And then once you get to, again, some number, some threshold, it's just not possible. Now you've got 400 people that want to talk intimately with you. Good luck with that. It's not possible. Even if you had 100 digital assistants or 100 personal assistants, I guess, you're never going to make that. You're never going to satisfy that. So at some point, that's not even a thing anymore. So engaging with the audience, understand that engaging with the audience depends on how big your audience is and what you're doing with your projects. Some people are just selling you shit. They give a shit about what you have to think. If you're not buying their grip angle or their new barrel, keep moving. I don't care. Hey, guess what we're importing next? If you don't care, then get moving. And that's what they need. Then there's the organizations that are like, welcome, 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 welcome. Once you've been there for a while and you start asking them, what do I do next? They're like, get the hell out of here. We're welcoming people in the door. You're clogging the works. Get out of here. Quit asking me stuff. Get out of here. We're only here to welcome. So engaging with your audience is going to change as you get bigger. I guess you could talk to peers, but talking to peers, you're going to get people as you walk up a set of stairs, you're going to get people that got tired and just sat down. You're going to get people that's all they wanted to do. They wanted to see over that hill, and they can see over that hill. They're done. You got people that were only climbing the stairs because they thought that was what you're supposed to do. And they got tired and they just don't know what to do now. You got people that are only resting because they're not even done. They don't even want to talk to you because they're there to climb the whole staircase. So as you're climbing that stairs, you're going to find different people along the way. You're climbing stairs up a mountain, 3/4 up that mountain. You're not finding any more people who accidentally got there, right? You're finding dedicated people that quit. You're finding dedicated people that got taken out of the game. You're finding people that are that dumbass that they've somehow climbed halfway up a fucking mountain without unintentionally. And that can happen. You'll find people that are massive and they're like, oh, I don't understand. Engaging with your audience. You have to engage with your audience, but don't think that there's one way to engage with your audience. Your audience is going to change. You're going to change, and time is going to go on. You start engaging with your audience and you get into your mode. Go watch an old guy. Go watch any of the writers, for crying out loud. They have no idea how to engage with an audience. All they knew how to do is say stuff that they think. So you get them on a panel and all they can do is say what they think. So they don't know how to engage with an audience at all. And that's what it used to be. That's all there was. Then you get the television. How do they engage with an audience? Here, I'll sign your autograph. I'll sign an autograph for you. They don't know how to engage with an audience for shit. Now you bring Clover in here, who goes live constantly. Can he engage with an audience? Compared to, I don't know, just fill in the blank big YouTuber. How do you think they engage with an audience? They got 200 people a day that want to be their best friend. So they don't care about anybody anymore. They can't. They can only care about the people that they know anymore. The only people they can trust anymore are the people that they know. Engage with an audience. Come on. Everybody's different, and every audience is going to be different. Understand that, and that's the role of the audience, or the role of community building. Well, actually, you guys don't have to do with community building. I guess I missed that one. Let's see. Don't be afraid to outsource. Use the tools available. I don't know what we're talking about there, but I'm a fan of that. Sounds harsh, but that's not intended. Sorry about that. Charge them. Let's see. Late fee. If I gotta sit here listening to a lame ass podcast, you're paying me. Now y'all gotta listen to me drink my espresso. Engage with the audience. So legal protections. We just had a lawyer on, Alex Uli, last night on the show. So if you want to listen to that, I think it was a pretty good conversation. Legal protections. Provide information on legal resources and protections available to content creators facing legal challenges. I mean, I've only been doing this since 1997, and legal challenges? I don't know where the robot came up with this one. Discuss the importance of understanding one's legal rights when discussing Second Amendment issues. Somebody please tell me why this one's even on the list. I mean, aside from somebody doing something completely stupid, or having something happen to them, there's nothing about this at all, other than like when we ask to interview a lawyer, that's about as close as we get to legal protections. So I don't know what the robot's thinking here, but more than likely, I'm just going to assume the robot thinks that us talking about the Second Amendment is somehow, I have no idea why they're bringing up this one. All right, the next section is the future of Second Amendment content creation, which is kind of what the whole point of this was. Really, this was just like all these elements, I guess, to keep in mind. But then the future. Predict potential trends and challenges for Second Amendment content creators in coming years. Then discuss the role of emerging technologies and platforms in shaping the future landscape. How did Instagram change the landscape? Like, how did YouTube change the landscape? And then how did Facebook change the landscape? I think it's pretty obvious that landscapes get changed, especially digitally. Now, what's going to change it coming forward? I mean, AI is coming. AI wrote this, for crying out loud. AI is on the way. It's already here in a lot of places, but it's a baby. And what it's going to start to do as it grows up, well, it's not going to be as much a wave as people think. It's kind of like the internet. Did the internet like make a giant ripple? I think most people just saw domain names on stuff. If you weren't on the internet, you could care less about the internet. And today you can still exist without the internet 20 something years later. So, AI will be there. It'll just mean, like some people will spend all day making a picture and other people will go over to AI and say, make me the picture. It'll be that kind of difference, but I don't think it'll remove paintbrushes. We're not going to see such a future that the people who are afraid of the sky falling would doom and gloom about. So as far as platform shape in the future, for sure, like 100%, that's what they do. The future is a pliable thing, right? The future is a result of the changes that happen today. So the first part of this, predict potential trends and challenges for Second Amendment content creators in the coming years. Man, I mean, I'm sure it's going to end up being essentially what we've seen before. However, there is reason to believe it could change. What I'd like to see, predict the potential trends. Again, I'd like to see national level coordination of our efforts. We have a bunch of people who are capable, a bunch of people who have time and energy and ability to inform and educate the masses, let's say, the people who don't care about guns, the people who just don't care one way or the other. And in that group are the future politicians, the people running for the small offices, the people who are going to be career politicians who are just starting out, the people who are assisting those people who will eventually be in that role. So changing the what do they call it, the Overton window, changing the society's perception of firearms. Right now, it seems like the object is to suggest guns are a vice, and that anyone who likes guns is like someone who's someone who likes fine wine. You're oblivious to drunk drivers. You like your fine wine, but that same alcohol is ruining lives, and you're oblivious to that. And if you would just give up your alcohol, then there would be no alcohol and all these lives would be saved. That's the narrative, except with guns, right? So, to change that narrative, it isn't going to just happen. I mean, it would be nice to think that it might just happen, but that's like saying it would be nice if a bunch of monkeys would just write Shakespeare. It could happen, but it ain't likely to happen. So how do you make something more likely? Well, you could start reading Shakespeare to monkeys. You could start teaching monkeys to write, right? Teaching them how to spell or something. And then you got a lot more chance of that happening. It's still pretty, uncertain. It's not a recipe. It's just moving potential. So predicting potential threads or trends, I'd like to see that. Now, I'm not doom and gloom. I haven't been to one, but I'm not unaware what the Girl in a Gun conference does. 700 plus ladies. Now I'm sure that those are the same 700 ladies each year, but those are 700 ladies that are gaining experience, gaining a understanding, and understanding their role. Each year, their role in the whole game becomes more apparent to them, and they become more what's the word? Like they become more sure of their position because they've achieved it. They've accomplished stuff. The Women for Gun Rights, the DC Project, the Ambassador Academy, KD's Train and Learn. Look at the successes and the consequences that come out of Train and Learn over the years. So we've got potential of people who may not all be on the same track, on the same, same thing, but they're all aiming towards a better, more useful future. And along the way, the consequences of all those individual efforts will be awareness and understanding at a higher level. You can't have all these new gun owners without, and all these new gun owners safely owning guns, I should say. Like there's all these new gun owners. We always just end it like that. Okay, well, we're taking for granted the fact that these are new gun owners who haven't done anything illegal. They don't do anything unsafe. And their guns, massive numbers of guns, live with new people, if you believe what everybody's saying. And there's no consequence. So that exists, and that precedence will be set. And again, it's ours to lose, but it's also ours to illustrate. Like, hey, there's all these new gun owners. Where's all the gun crime? Where's all the gun accidents? Where's all the additional suicides? Like, there's challenges we can make to not just take things for granted. There's a lot of new guns out there, and gun owners are safe and responsible. Therefore, there's no change in the stats. So, will we make an effort to illustrate that? Probably not. Just goes to the role of it. Well, okay, I think we did both of those then. So there's probably more we could elaborate on there. Then closing thoughts. How long have we been doing this? It's got to be over an hour. Oh, look at that. Just about an hour. Oh, I started this thing 15 minutes late. That's why. Okay, so yeah, right about an hour. Summarize. See if Clover's not here. I can just do a show in an hour all the time. Very efficient. Let's see. Unapologetically Armed says, don't predict the changes, be responsible for them. Dang. Is that a shirt, or did you come up with that right now? Because that's pretty sweet. I like that one. Don't predict the change, be responsible for it. Or don't predict the changes, be responsible for them. Oh, all right. So now he's doing his work. And let's see. So closing thoughts. Summarize the key points discussed. It's not going to be handed to us. There is no recipe. The rules are guidelines, and no one's going to suggest even a unified goal for the future. So it's up to each individual to determine how high they're going to shoot. If they're going to choose one or multiple goals, and if they're going to go there alone, or if they're going to go there as a group, go there with people, join a party and go with it. not a party, that's a bad term, so I don't mean political party. Join a group of people that are headed towards that goal. Go as an individual, understanding that you can interact with other groups that are on your way to the goal. Maybe you're going to go and create some kind of liaison or communication between groups as you all summit the peak. So I don't know. There's a lot to talk about. That's the summary of it. Encourage a continued dialogue on Second Amendment rights. How about rights protected by the Second Amendment and the role of the content creators in shaping public discourse? I hope I've made it clear over the years. Value your voice. Everybody talking is what the conversation is, not the talking points from above, not some direction. Think about who's out there and what are their goals. Except for a couple of them, nobody is really saying our goal is to change public opinion of guns. They're like, we want to change a law. We want to make it easier for us. We want to make it, something easy. Where's anyone's objective to change the opinion of guns? Let's see. This outline should provide a solid structure for comprehensive and engaging conversation on the challenges faced by Second Amendment rights, content creators in 24. Well, it was an outline. Hopefully it worked. And I don't want to dismiss, again, the good work that's being done by people who are literally advocates. Train and Learn is an advocacy, is a portion of their curriculum. Girl and a Gun advocacy is a portion of their curriculum. I'm pretty sure Ambassador Academy has a portion of their curriculum. There's the AmCon, which exists for this concept. And projects like ours. I'm sure there's other people out there. I can't be the only one who gives interest to this and time each week in it. All right. So Unapologetic Garm says that saying just came to her. Very cool. Well, I mean, if it ain't a shirt or some kind of calligraphy or whatever, no, it's not calligraphy. If it's not some kind of message written in cursive on a little sign, like a little tile or something, it should be. Maybe a coffee pot or a coffee mug. You're not allowed to put stuff on a coffee pot, but on a coffee mug, that would be an interesting one also. And it probably applies to other things besides gun owners, I guess, technically. So other people might appreciate it too. All right, there we go. So that was the content creation show. We do open up the after chat for people that want to chat. We'll see if anybody jumps in this week. We'll be back next week, getting back on track with the advanced topics. We're pretty much close to the end there. I think there's like interviews. And did we already do special shows? Like there was a special show one that was interesting. So we'll get back on track with the at intermediate or advanced conversations. And then we'll probably get back to some SHOT Show stuff. If you've got any ideas, suggestions, questions for the topics on the show, feel free to let me or Clover know. And then if you'd like to have some individual consulting, individual time with one of us, that's available as well. Both of us have helped people out over the years, both like professionally and, just casually, I guess, just without any kind of contract or signed, value going back and forth or anything. But if you are interested, if you've got a project and you don't want to hear just general topics or you want specific questions answered, get with us. We are available to help with that. Let's see. I'll create one of my teal graphics for Instagram. Right on. Very cool. Well, if anything, then we helped an advocate out there come up with another tagline. Is that a good thing to say? Or maybe even a motto. It could be a motto. But anyhow, thanks everybody for joining us, or me and the puppy. You had to watch the puppy all day today. It's horrible. He was sleeping all night. He woke up, went potty, and he sat here. So this is how much he can sleep after being asleep. I mean, I'm assuming he was asleep all night. I was asleep. Maybe he gets up and runs around or something. But this is I've been exhausted from sleeping all night nap. Now he'll wake up and run around probably because the show's over. KMA Beavers out there, welcome. Well, the good news is that it is recorded, so you can listen to it in the future if you want. I don't have a old-timey single-action revolver for you, but we can put this revolver in the dog's hands. Long time no see. Okay, now we'll wrap this thing up. Again, there are some links out there to people who ask for them, and we'll be back next week with the conclusion of the advanced show. I guess I should mention to our Patreons down here. Our Patreons make it possible for us to spend time on projects like these. Thank you. 100-something Patreons that we have. Each of them is subscribing to what we do here. Not just the social stuff, but mainly our websites, I think. Maybe the podcast. It's hard to know. I haven't really asked anybody or everybody what their reasons for subscribing are. But those subscriptions add up. Most people are buying us a cup of coffee. Some people buy us lunch once a month. So $5, $25 a month. That adds up. And it pays for 3 servers that we use to host all the different websites and stuff. A little bit of software for those. And more software, hopefully. I've just added a new $100 layer of software to the mix for the podcast stuff. And there's still 2 more pieces of software I'd like to eventually add on to the mix, but not critical, just I think interesting and might be useful. But anyway, the Patreons make it even possible for me to suggest stuff like that. For the longest time, there was not a lot of money coming along on our projects over here. So the Patreons made it possible for those projects to even exist. And now they're going to be responsible for the growth that we'll see this next year. I bitch a lot because I've been frustrated and I haven't been able to do stuff. That's changing. And I will be able to do stuff potentially going forward into 2004 here. I'm not trying to tempt fate or nothing, but if everything goes according to plan, we'll be back on track and doing stuff more than ever. And I don't fart around. I'm not doing stuff to make money or to be famous. I'm doing stuff to end this conversation, end this bullshit debate that all the exploiters want to make money off of. Let's get beyond this. When we as gun owners end this debate, we will have set an example that people can work together who are not necessarily all united for a greater thing. And that can be that example can be followed by other segments or other sectors of our society. Gun owners, once we accomplish this, will understand the mechanisms of it and we'll be able to apply it to other things. There's forces working against us. You can acknowledge that, or you can deny it, or you can agree, or you can disagree. But it's foolish to suggest that a giant country like ours doesn't have people that like to see us have problems at different scales. Understanding that, we should be to some extent defensive and to some extent strategic about our actions. And all it takes is a little coordinated effort to affect massive changes in the situation. Once gun owners are united and no longer a victim, which we are right now, we are divided and we are victims. Once we're no longer victim status, that takes the gun debate out of the equation. And people think, oh, I'm talking delusional. Like from 1994 until 2013, show me where guns were an issue. Guns were taken off the table due to a dumbass political decision, the assault weapons ban, and the consequences, which everyone was taken out of office. Not one person, I don't remember anymore, but pretty much everybody was taken out of office in 1995. No one lived there except for the giant ones that were stuck in office that we still see today. Most of them were removed from office. Everyone that could be removed from office was removed from office because of the assault weapons ban. The consequences of that was they didn't touch guns for decades. We have that ability. We have that power. They desperately want us to ignore that. They constantly do the newspeak that the assault weapons ban worked because they desperately need us to forget 1995. Well, we don't need to remember 1995. We just need to remember that we as individuals have more power than those few who are working against us. Once we've accomplished that in front of people, we've won on more than one level. And I'm going to do what I can to work towards that again. So thanks again for everybody who joins us for these shows. And I'll throw a commercial up here for our store. We also have an Amazon store, and this is Black Friday week. So I'm going to drop a link to our Amazon store if you're interested if you're buying stuff on Amazon. and you're interested, please consider using our store. I know it sounds greedy. Our store is, like I say, helping us slay bills. Honestly, it's really helping with the bills. So if you're going to purchase stuff anyway, I'd ask that you use our link, or Gizzard Gary has a link. CloverTech has a link. Let me grab you some other links here. If you're going to be purchasing a bunch, or if you're going to be sharing links around, here, I'll give you Clover's next, since he's pretty much the co-host. And guess what? Most of us have our actual names that you know of as our Amazon names. I'll grab Gizzard's here real quick. And you don't have to charge, it doesn't cost you nothing more. But if you go through one of our stores and then make your purchase, Amazon knows who sent you. And then they give us a little cut for sending you over. And, if everybody's going to be purchasing stuff this week anyway, then, again, we appreciate the favor. All right, so there's a couple of them. Snob's got a store. Ghost's got a store. He was out here. I hope Unapologetically Armed gets a store at some point. But again, thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow with a look at Instagram. And I've got so many trivia games. Stay tuned for some trivia games. As soon as I got time to do it, we're going to have so many trivia games. Push the button. Push the button.
GearWebsites.com is your source for firearms-based playing cards and books. We also have mugs, shirts, and posters with designs that we've made live. Of course, we have patches. Every Friday is Free Patch Friday. We appreciate your support. Thank you for shopping at GearWebsites.com.
And then I'll just throw this one out here for our friend Patriot in the Dark, who appreciates this ending to the show.
Cheat. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Haha, that also gave me time to go in and link to a Tuesday where Cape Gunworks, or Toby, goes live with Grace Curley in Boston, I think, for 45 minutes. And they take questions from the radio audience about guns and Second Amendment related things. It's a really good conversation. It lasts for about 45 minutes. And before and usually after, Toby will chat with the people who are watching through the YouTube live stream. So we're linking to that. I just threw a link up to it. I consider this show the opening act for that show. So if you've got some time to listen to it later on and participate in the comments, highly encourage. It's literally my favorite show each week is Rapid Fire Radio on Wednesday, followed closely by the 2A Tuesday today. Wake up, say goodbye. Say goodbye.